Hello and welcome to the Auto Today show. My name is Dipandatta and today we're looking at a retro classic cruiser that threw away the proverbial handbook and redefined the genre with its own signature style. Ladies and gentlemen, all the way from Berlin, the BMW R18 First Edition. But before we hop in the saddle and tell you what the R18 is like to ride, let's take a second, let's take a step back and really appreciate the R18 for what it is and what gives it this unique presence.
The R18 has a magnetic presence that is quite uncharacteristic for a motorcycle that subscribes so strongly to the retro minimalist philosophy. Of course, BMW have made no pretenses about the fact that the centerpiece of the R18 is that massive transversely mounted 1800cc boxer motor. I will admit there is a heavy-handed use of chrome on the cylinder heads, the exposed pushrod casing, on the engine and on the exhaust, but somehow on the R18 it looks absolutely perfect. The rest channels the retro theme from BMW's heritage, specifically the R5 cruiser from the 1930s. The triangular tank leads into a minimal rear section that houses the massive 180 section rear tire. What I think is so special about this BMW is the way the mechanical bits that you wouldn't usually consider catch your eye. Like the exposed drive shaft that spins along as you ride, or the massive chrome chest plate that houses the crank, or even the unique cantilever rear subframe that appears rigid but actually neatly hides away a very modern monoshock. The attention to detail on the R18 is just spectacular. Most of the cables and wires are tucked neatly out of sight. Even the fork covers appear to seamlessly flow into the blacked out telescopes. In a world full of Yeezys then, the R18 is a well-tailored suit, sedate, classic and timeless.
So now you're in the saddle of the 345 kilo BMW R18 with two massive boxer engines protruding on either side. And you're wondering what kind of ergonomic nightmare it's going to be to ride, and especially in those tight spaces. The results are actually quite contrary. These low-slung boxer engines actually lower the center of gravity and make it super easy to corner even in those really tight spaces. It's actually even easy to U-turn, and that's something that really makes this R18 really special. But the masterpiece of this motorcycle is of course on the open road. So let's head out, but this is no way to ride, so much better. Let's get to riding.
Thumb the starter and the boxer springs to life with the grace of a sleeping bear that's recently been introduced to the pointy end of a stick. As the boxer churns that heavy crank and pushes the entire motorcycle a few inches to the left, it's a bit disarming at first, I will admit. But you get used to it, and I suspect that by the end of it you might just enjoy the constant reminder of how much torque this engine packs. Now on paper, the 91 bhp of max power and 158 Nm of peak torque don't really shock and awe. Though fair warning, peak power is achieved well below 5000 rpm. And most of those 158 Nms of twist kick in as little as 2000 rpm, which is more than enough to propel this 350 kg motorcycle to triple digits before you've realized it, even if it means furiously working the gearbox while you get there. Out on the highway though, high gears and low revs bring out an almost hypnotic burble from the Boxer twin, with very little to report in the form of vibrations. Now, usually on motorcycles like this, when we get to the ride and handling is when we have to tell you what you need to be prepared to sacrifice. In the case of most hardtail cruisers, it's usually the structural integrity of your spine. In this matter though, the R18 is a welcome surprise. Whatever mechanical wizardry has gone into the design of the rear subframe has worked wonders. Bumps are absorbed with poise that I wouldn't usually associate with a low ground clearance cruiser. And it gets better. Thanks to the low flat boxer engine and 690mm seat, the center of gravity is much lower, allowing it to feel stable even at low speeds. It never ever really feels too top heavy. It's agile too. Despite the 1731 mm wheelbase, even on a narrow slip lane, the R18 manages a U-turn without even having to put your foot down. In all, the R18 may just be the best hardtail cruiser I've ever ridden, which is a perfect contrast to how cumbersome it looks. And for me, that is saying everything there is to know about this motorcycle.
Now, when it comes to a motorcycle like the BMW R18, I don't think you can really put into perspective what this motorcycle really is based on a spec sheet, or for that matter, the price. I think the R18 is in motion. It's the kind of motorcycle you want to leave in your living room just to look at it. And when you consider it like that, as a piece of art, I don't think any price is really going to bother you that much. That's it for me. Didi signing off.